In Ecuador, the Amazonian forest is a true treasure. It's the birthplace of Indian culture and contains a multitude of flora and fauna. Crossed by the Amazon's tributaries, this region, called Oriente by Ecuadorians, is primarily inhabited by Indians. Originally hunters and food gatherers, they have always lived in harmony with the forest. This green treasure is more and more threatened by deforestation and by oil companies. Preserving the forest's wealth are high and important stakes. Amazonico is an animal refuge located on the banks of the Rio Araguano. This is Angelica. 10 years ago, she came to Ecuador to finish her thesis in biology. She never left. She met Remigio, an Indian guide with a vast knowledge of the forest. Together, they founded Amazonico. They have 2 children, Jan Shawali and Sylvia Nina. When Angelica came to Ecuador, she thought she knew all there was to know about the forest. Thanks to Remigio, she quickly understood that in spite of her long years of study, she still had so much to learn. Today, they're looking after a sloth that the peasants brought them. The animal is very weak since it was wounded by the rope attached to it. It will be placed in quarantine and released to a protected area as soon as possible. This morning, Remigio is going into the heart of the Amazonian forest along the Rio Shiripunu. He'll be gone for several days. The most important part of his job is talking to the Indians and making them aware of the dangers with which the forest is threatened. Otobo acts as a guide. He takes him to the territory of his father, an old Huaroni chief. Remigio is hoping to pick up a female spider monkey there for the Amazonico refuge. Remigio is a Quichua Indian. Conquered in the past by the Incas, the Quichuas are the largest ethnic group in the country. Otobo is a member of the Huarani tribe. There are barely 1,000 in Ecuador, and they live for the most part in the forest, far from all civilization. Huarani culture revolves around the forest. For them, each tree has a name and is a landmark. This is how they anticipate obstacles and the reason they never get lost. On the way, the 2 men catch a vagre, a big fish that Remigio will give to Otobo's father as a sign of respect. After a day's sailing, they come to a place called Buanamo, which in Huarani means where there are many boas. This is where Omayebi, Otobo's father, lives. His house overlooks the forest, where the Rio Shiripuno and the Rio Conanaco meet. The Guaranis live separately in families and not in the heart of a communal village. Around each house there is a fairly vast zone which is their own hunting territory. Omayebi gives them a warm welcome. Otobo's father pokes fun at Remigio. He cuts off a part of the fish the Guaranis never touch because it contains the milt or sperm. Remigio has received the Indian chief's permission to go through his territory and camp in the region. He'll spend his time studying the forest's wealth. This part of the forest has never been exploited by man. Here, the fauna and flora are much richer than around Amazonico. It's fairly common to run across caimans and tapirs here. There are so many different species that not all of them have been classified. Remigio is happy. He recalls the time when he would go hunting with his father. The two men find a very rare turtle, a mata-mata, which means fishing turtle in the Guarani language. To Remigio's great surprise, Otobo knows instinctively that it's a female. He doesn't have to check if it's flat at the bottom, contrary to the concave shape of the male. This turtle has an incredible sense of smell. From each side of its head, small flaps with nerve endings enable it to spot its prey's slightest movement. Thanks to its small tubular trunk, it can breathe normally underwater. It's been a long time since Remigio last saw a mata-mata. One has to go deep into the forest to even hope to find one. After checking that the turtle is in good health, Otobo returns it once again to nature. About 3 kilometers from Omayebi's house, the two men find themselves in Tagaeri territory. Remigio would like to make contact with them. For Otobo, it's out of the question. He remembers that the Tagaeri killed 2 missionaries with spears a few years ago. Ever since, no one has dared take the chance of talking to them. Remigio discusses the serious upheavals in the forest. He believes that it's essential for all Indians to stick together with the common goal of preserving the selva viva, the living forest. For the Indians, the forest is filled with legends. It has a mythical and sacred quality and is the theater for a great many rituals. When Western medicine fails, Remigio calls upon a shaman. The Quichuas worship the Oslo, who, according to them, bears the soul of their ancestors. They believe that after their death, they will live again in certain forest animals. Hunting and food gathering are the Guarani's sole resources. Armed only with a sabarkan, or blowpipe, Omayebi leaves to hunt monkeys on his territory. Like all Indians, he lives in perfect harmony with the forest. In the event of its destruction, an entire people and culture would disappear with it. The Guarani chief imitates the sound of the woolly monkey and the spider monkey. After several tries, a monkey finally answers. The point of his arrow is coated with curare, a poison extracted from a vine called urare. The Guarani have always hunted with a sarbacan. Made out of hollowed-out bamboo, it can be as long as 3 meters and very heavy and hard to handle. The long and tedious hunt can last for hours. It requires great patience and dexterity. Omayebi is delighted. This time he's finally hit his prey. The problem now is to get the animal he hit to come down. Even wounded, the monkey can often remain hanging from his tree. The only solution is for Omayebi to climb up and get the animal himself. The monkey, however, doesn't surrender that easily. The Indian chief finally gives up because a Huarani never cuts down a tree to capture his prey. In spite of the Indians' skill, this sort of hunt is no threat to the forest's ecological balance.